Lesson 6.5, Identify Transformations. So this Delta Math lesson will actually be multiple choice, which makes it a little bit easier. But I want to talk about the patterns of the rules you should be noticing when you rotate and when you reflect points. So when you see CCW, that's just counterclockwise. So remember, that's an opposite rotation from how a clock goes. If you have a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation, you take the ordered pair XY, you flip it, and then you make the first number negative. So I'll go ahead and write that down. That would be a good thing to have in your notes. So swap and make first number negative. Okay, so for example, if I were to take shape A and rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise onto shape B, I picked one point here at 1, 5, and then that same point would be here at -5, 1. So you can see that the 1 and 5 have been reversed, and it made the first number be a negative. Okay, if you had a 180-degree counterclockwise rotation, you would take your ordered pair, and you don't swap the places, you just negate them. So negate both numbers. And when I say negate, it makes it the opposite sign of what it was. So for example, shape A, I picked this little point here. This is at -9, 2. You would negate both of them and make it now +9, negative. And then if you have a 270-degree counterclockwise rotation, you take your ordered pair and you swap again. And this time you make the second number negative. So we'll put swap and make second number negative. So for example, I picked this point here on shape A. This is down at -2, -9. So you would reverse that and have your -9, -2, but then this would become the opposite of +2. Okay, and then a reflection. I'm not going to talk a lot about the X and the Y axis. Those are always easy to identify. You just know they're equidistant from one of those axes. But then what gets me sometimes is the difference between a rotation and then one of these reflections. So if we're reflecting over the line y equals x, that's y equals 1x plus 0, goes through the origin, and it goes up 1, right 1, so it makes this perfect diagonal line here. And what happens is you just swap, but you don't negate anything. That's all you do is just swap. So this point here was 3, -2. Now it becomes -2, 3 when it's reflected. And then the last one is over the line y equals -x. That's y equals -1x plus 0. So it still goes through the origin and goes down 1, right 1. Has a negative slope. And then this time you don't, you do, see I get confused, you swap and negate. So swap and negate. And so I picked this point on the very tip of the shape. This is at 9, 8, so now it becomes -8, -9. So the difference is here you swap the numbers and change the signs, versus up here you are just doing one of those things where you're swapping and just changing the sign of one of the numbers. Changing the signs, changing one of the numbers, or negating them and not swapping it. So it gets kind of tricky figuring out how a shape was moved, but use this to help you when you get stuck.